Hi, welcome to the farm. I thought I would share a video today of a little project that I've got going on, very simple project. In fact, it's one of those things that I never really thought about making a video about for a long time, but I found out that sometimes the simple things that we take for granted, many others have not had the opportunity to learn to do that. So what I'm doing is I'm going to can apples today. I've had 3 baskets of apples. These apples are I think they're Arkansas black apples. I'm not really sure. They came from my husband's brother-in-law's farm. I've had 3 baskets of these apples, and I've just been so busy I just couldn't get to them, and so there's an awful lot of waste in these apples. But you know, being a good steward of what we've been given, we want to make sure that we use everything that we can. About a month ago, I took some of these apples and I sliced them really thin and put them in the dehydrator, and I've got dried apples. I'll use these for fried pies and apple stack cakes and things like that. About a month or so before that, I had some more of these apples and I canned those and made apple pie filling. This is excellent, but this is a process, and this takes about all day to do, and so I didn't have time to do that. I just decided to can these for 3 reasons, actually. One is I just can't stand the thought of something going to waste. I hate it, even though there's, like I said, there's a lot of waste to these. As I peel these and cut them up, there's a lot of waste to it. There's a lot of rot in them. There's wormholes. There's all kinds of stuff that I'll show you in a minute. But second of all, if I can them, then that's 1 more jar of something I don't have to buy. And I pack apples, canned apples, on my husband's lunch a lot. Our grandsons like applesauce and cooked apples, and so there's that. And then third, I know exactly what's in this, and so that's another reason that I like to can my own. And so I'll take these apples, and I'm just going to show you the cutting up process here. Now, I've washed these apples in water with a little bit of white vinegar thrown in, just for a little extra cleansing there. This actually happens to be one of the better ones. You could have canned, or excuse me, you could have peeled this one on an apple peeler. It's pretty uniform and round, and it would have peeled fine. But most of these could not have been peeled on an apple peeler. But when I cut this open, again, this is really one of the great ones. I wish I'd have had a whole bunch of these. And actually, many of these were probably this good in the beginning. I just couldn't get to it any sooner. Now, I will cut this just about half into, just quarter these for this. In this other pan here, I've got water and a product called Fruit Fresh, which keeps the apples from turning brown while they're in the water. Like I said, these apples probably were all about this good in the beginning, but I just couldn't get to it. I write and teach Bible studies, and so we happen to be out tonight and tomorrow. 2 of our lessons come back to back, and we follow the school system. So there's no school tomorrow, so therefore we don't have Bible study tonight or tomorrow, so I don't have to write those lessons today. But as I said a moment ago, I will just cut these in fairly large pieces, and they're going to seed. But whenever I dehydrate them, I'll cut them in very thin slices, and so they will dry quicker. Now this one, I can feel some bruising here, some softness to it. So when I've come to places like that, I'll just cut big. See, there's some bruising right there, so I'll cut that off. Cut the bad places out of it. See, that exposed another place there. I'll keep peeling these. And the reason I wanted to show this is to say, you know, there's still a lot of good in these apples. It's not something that I just wanted to throw away because they were beginning to go bad. I wanted to be a good steward of these things that God has given us. Like I said, this was on my husband's brother-in-law on his farm. These trees were not commercial trees, of course. This is not a commercial orchard. This is just a farm tree. Judging from these apples, they were probably have not been sprayed. The tree was not sprayed, and so when that happens, you deal with this, but that's okay. Cut it all out. So there's that. I've had some that I would cut into them, and the whole center of the apple would be bad. But these, I've got some here that are actually in pretty good shape. Let's see. Now this one feels really, really soft. Yeah, and it's got some pretty bad places in it as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish peeling these apples. I've got probably about another, I'd say another hour's worth of peeling to go. And then I'll come back with the video and give the directions for canning. The directions for this comes from the Ball cookbook. I'm using, the canning book. I'm using the Ball Complete canning book. It's just a simple apples in a light syrup or a medium syrup of sugar water. You can can them without any water at all if you like, but I usually just use a light syrup. And so there, just keep cutting until I get all the bad places cut away from it. It takes a while to do this, but it's taking care of what we have. If I couldn't afford to buy fruit at the grocery store, I know how to prepare it and put it back as something that we will use here on the farm. So the rest of this is just pretty simple. Peeling apples and cutting them up, cutting the bad places out of them. And then I'll come back when I get ready to start canning them. Okay, we're continuing now with our canning of the apple pieces. I've got everything peeled and cleaned up, and it's in this water with the fruit fresh. Before I forget it, I was reviewing the first part of the video that I did, and I said that you could can it without water. That's not what I meant. You can can it without sugar. You obviously can't can it without water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a medium syrup. These apples they're not real tart, but they're not real sweet either. They're sort of a medium, so I want it to be fairly sweet in this, not overly sweet, of course. And so what I've done is I've got the batch that I'm going to make for a medium sugar water or a syrup calls for 3.5 cups of sugar to 5 cups of water. Now you can also can this in unsweetened fruit juice, or you can put fruit juice, or you have a mixture. So what I've done actually, I'm doing 10 cups of the liquid and 6 cups of the sugar. And what I've got 6 cups of water and 4 cups of some apple cider. And so I'm making that for my syrup to go over this. The sugar, I put 6 cups of sugar in that, and you may wonder why it's this way and why the bag's upside down. When I got this home from the grocery store the other day, there was a hole in it. I'd caught it on something. Sugar was leaking everywhere, so I put it in a plastic bag, and so I've had to open it from the bottom to keep from spilling sugar. So that's with the sugar. So I've got the syrup made here. I'm going to mix this syrup with the liquid and the sugar. Stir that to dissolve. I'm going to add the apples. Now the recipe calls for 2 to 3 pounds of apples per quart that you want to can. Well, that's very difficult to do, to weigh whenever your apples are kind of scrappy. So what I'll do is I've just made this pot of the liquid syrup, and so I'm just going to add the apples to this until I have a pot full, and then I'll carry on with that. I'll can these, and then when I finish this batch, then if I've got liquid left, I'll add more apples to it and see what I need to do from there. But what I need to do once I have this sugar dissolved in this, I will add the apples, and then we will boil the apples in the syrup for 5 minutes. Once it comes to a boil, let them boil for 5 minutes, and then I'll fill the jars. In the meantime, while this is coming to a boil, I'll take my large stainless steel pot and put my pint jars in water so that they can be heating and preparing before the canning phase of it. So that's where we are now. I'm ready to add the apples. Drain the apples here the old-fashioned way on my hands. These turned out, actually, I'm sure I will have at least 2 turns of apples, canned apples with this. So I'm really excited about getting that much. I didn't think I was going to get any apples at all this year. I wasn't able to go to the orchard and get any between writing and teaching Bible studies, and I've also been making hot tamales to sell, so we stay pretty busy here on the farm. And now it's deer season, so the next thing that we will be doing is processing deer once we get one. So I've got some really good recipes for canning deer and for making deer stew. Okay, there's that. Now I'll put this on the stove and let it come to a boil, and boil for 5 minutes, and then we'll start canning it, and I'll come back then. All right, now we're ready to can the apples. They've been boiling in this syrup for about 5 minutes. It's out of the camera range, but I've got another pot over here with my jars in it with warm simmering water. And so we're ready to start filling the water, or filling the jars and canning them. I get a jar out, empty the water out of it, and start filling. I'm really tickled with how these apples turned out. I was afraid I had let them get too far gone before I had an opportunity to work on them. But I'm really, really pleased. So you want to work the apples down in there. Begin pouring the liquid in over them. That will keep down the number of air bubbles. And keep adding until you get, we want a 1/2 inch head space with these. Let's see, that's going to be, let's measure that. Which one's my 1/2 inch? All right, right there. Just a little bit more. Okay. All right, now you want to take, this is just plastic. It's best not to use a stainless steel knife. Something plastic is better. Even this tool, tool that shows your headspace, also can be used the other end. I just don't like having to do it that way. So we run this down, get all the extra air bubbles out. Sometimes we can even add just a little bit more liquid. Good 1/2 inch. Got a dampened cloth, wipe the edge. Make sure you get all the air bubbles. Yep. All right. Take your jar flat. The way jar flats are made these days, we used to have to heat these, but I don't have to do that anymore. But I still just like to dip them in the hot water just to get them just a little warm. Put that on, and then put the rings on. And we just want to tighten this finger tight. I'll do this because it's hot, and then put this jar over in the water bath. Put my next jar. And we'll fill it. I'm not going to video filling all of them because it's just the same thing over and over at this point. We just one right after the other. We'll fill the jars. I don't want to mash them down. I don't really want to make applesauce out of it, even chunky applesauce. But I'll place it a little bit. Shake the jar, sort of helps them settle as well. I don't know if you could see that. Shake them. Okay, we're going to add the liquid. I tasted this liquid a while ago, since I made it out of the cider and vinegar, or not vinegar, but cider and water mixture. It's really good. I think whatever's left, I'm just going to keep and drink. All right, let's see. Yeah. Lost my water. It's clear plastic. I couldn't see it. Okay. Make sure you get all the air bubbles out. Okay. Measure for 1/2 inch headspace. Perfect. Wipe the edge. Make sure we get all the sticky residue off so we get a good seal. Heat my flat. Woo, hot. And there we go. I'll finish filling these pint jars. Then we have to water bath this. Let's see how long that has to cook. 20 minutes in a boiling water bath. Once I finish filling the jars, I'll let the water come to a boil. I'll do the water bath for the 20 minutes. Let it cool down, and then we'll take them out, and then I'll take the last video then. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Like I said, it's an extremely simple process, but yeah, I grew up doing this. I've done this all my life since I was real little. So, you know, if you haven't, and this is something you want to learn, get a good canning book. The Ball Complete book is probably one of the best on the market. There are other good ones. There are good websites. You just want to make sure your recipes are tested, safe recipes. You can't hardly mess up fruit, but yeah, it's something really good to start with if you want to learn how to do this. But if you have any questions, feel free to email me. My email that I use for my ministry, my Bible study, as well as for the farm is BN, like Betty Newman, BN Prayer Log, PRAYERLOGUE, BN Prayer Log at cs.com. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to answer any questions that you have. Be back shortly. All right, my apples are all finished. I've let them cook for 20 minutes in the rolling water bath. I've got my other turn of apples on here. They're cooking. They've got 3 minutes more to go. So I'm ready to fill the jars, which will work out perfectly by the time I get this out. So I'm ready to take these jars out. And here we go. Isn't that beautiful? I've got 8 pints in this turn. I'll probably have about at least 7 or 8 pints in the next turn. And so 15, 16 pints, that'll do us part of the winter. So I'm thankful for this. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Let me set this over here out of the way. If you have any questions, like I said earlier, just give me an email, and maybe we can help you with this, or comment on the video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have cooking videos, we have farm videos, and we have Bible study. What else could you want? So I hope you have a great day, and may God bless you.